Hello, everyone. My name is JD.
And this is Logan.
And this is the WireTap. Thank you for joining us today. So, what is next for the conservative movement? What is next for the GOP? I remember videos that we did over the summer, I think, or maybe even before, about what happens whenever Donald Trump leaves the Republican Party. And, I mean, I'm going to fess up right now. I thought that Trump was going to win in November. I thought Republicans would keep the Senate. I didn't think they would keep the House. So I'm 1 for 3. But what do we do now? Where is our direction that we go? Because I don't think that we were really prepared for this conversation, but what do we do now? There seems to be an undercurrent wanting Trump to run again in 2024. I personally think that's a terrible idea. For one, just the fact that Trump would be so much older then. And for two, we really need to have a fresh candidate by then, because everyone's opinions on Trump will have solidified. Yeah. And will, quite frankly, those who favor him now might not so much in retrospect. And I mean, also vice versa. Mm-hmm. But people's opinions on Trump will pretty well be solidified, and there's nothing that he would be able to do to really change that. We need a fresh face. We need a fresh slate of faces.
You have 4 years to come up with a new candidate.
You have 4 years until you need a new presidential candidate, and you have 2 years until the House can potentially be retaken, which I think in 2022 Republicans will take back the House, because that's historically how these things go. You know, the Democrats were dancing with glee whenever they took over the House in 2018, and it's like, relax, guys, like, this normally happens. And you know, people are like, no, it's because Trump sucks so bad. And it's like, wow, you know, I mean, 2022, we can have that same discussion whenever the Republicans take over the House. It's because Joe Biden sucks so bad.
Well, it's very interesting because the Democrats only have a majority of 6 seats currently in the House of Representatives, because yesterday Vernon Jones, representative from Georgia, has already changed to the Republican Party.
That is very true as well.
So I'm already questioning how much of the truly radical things they will be able to get through the House of Representatives with that slim of a margin, and you have representatives that are within red country that have managed to get a seat out of Republican areas.
Yeah, and ones that would be in danger of potentially losing their seat in the House of Representatives. Unfortunately, given the seats that are up in 2022 in the Senate, things don't look quite so favorable there for Republicans, at least at this point, pending what happens the next 2 years. I know that you have a seat up in Pennsylvania, which I don't know. If you look at county maps of Pennsylvania, and basically all these states, and there really is truth to the adage that every state is a red state, it's just blue cities.
Yeah,
there really is truth to that. People are like, well, it doesn't matter what the acreage is, it matters the population. Well, you know, here's the thing. It's the same argument with the Electoral College in states like California and New York as compared to states like Iowa or Kansas. Mm-hmm. It's that same argument that, I mean, that's cool and all, you know, about the population, but that population lives in that area. So, you know, their vote, although they are more, and the Electoral College just evens this out a little more. Mm-hmm. California still has more say in the election than Missouri, but it's a little more equal.
Yeah,
it's a little more equitable than it was before. It's the same kind of thing in states, though, to where you have these big cities that really control the destiny of the entire state. Even though it's like, oh, what are the cows voting? You know, all this acreage, it doesn't matter. It's the people. Yeah, you know, the people in this little square block at the top of the state. Meanwhile, the rest of the entire state is red.
And you saw that in Georgia.
Yeah, you did. Atlanta, Savannah, has flipped the state. Basically, it is a solid purple state now.
Yeah.
Very solid purple, leaning blue, which is very unfortunate. Florida, I don't think is any longer a swing state. I think that Florida has went red. Ohio, I think, is no longer a swing state. Ohio has went red, I think. North Carolina has entered into that purple, leaning red category.
And honestly, the argument could be made if we weren't on YouTube for Pennsylvania being a more red state now.
Yeah, I think that Pennsylvania is a purple leaning red. Mm-hmm. I really do. But I don't know. We'll have to see. The point is, 2022, the Senate looks like it might be a tough shot. House of Representatives, you will probably get. Mm-hmm. But what will precipitate that change? And that's kind of the whole crux of this video today is what happens to the GOP? What happens to the Republican Party? If it were me, the GOP needs a total cleansing. It needs a Noah's flood type cleansing to completely eradicate the establishment that exists in the Republican Party.
Mitch McConnell.
Especially Mitch McConnell. Lindsey Graham, all right? The Paul Ryans of the party need to be gone.
And surprisingly,
there's no room.
The people that you thought that have been standing behind Trump, that you actually thought were almost on your side, have flipped the switch.
Yeah. After the events the other day in D.C., and if you haven't seen that video, make sure you go check that one out as well that we made on the D.C. protests and riots the other day. After that, they are fleeing from him like nobody's business because they have to save themselves. They're swamp creatures,
Yeah.
And they have to save themselves. And that's what they're best at. If there's one thing that Republicans are good at, it's at just surviving, at just existing.
Mm-hmm.
The Republican Party needs a total rebrand. It needs a total cleansing. And the only people who can provide that are us, ultimately. We have to cleanse the Republican Party. And we can't be afraid to lose elections because of it.
Yeah.
Because the Republican Party, as it stands, is fundamentally broken. It didn't happen because of Donald Trump. If you say that, you're just stupid. Sorry, but you're just stupid if you say, Donald Trump broke the Republican Party. He did not. The Republican Party was fundamentally broken before that. They were such a feckless party under the Obama administration, tails between their legs all the time. They did not stand for anything. Anything. Mm-hmm. They only stood in opposition. They had nothing they stood on. Whenever Donald Trump got in office, they actually started standing for something, but it was behind Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump was at forefront. Now that he is gone, they were back to the way that they were. They are complete wastes of space. They are wastes of votes. And we have to do something, whether it be reforming the Republican Party, which I think is the route to go, or forming a third party, which is a much harder, less successful route. One of the two has to be done. Because if we continue riding with the elephant, we're going to die.
Yeah. And I mean, most consequential elections now can and will be for the Republican Party. That is primaries.
Yeah.
Get out at the primary.
The primary is the most important vote at from this point forward. Mm-hmm. All right. If you keep just riding along, with the GOP, the Republican Party, the elephant, it's not going to end well. All right. You're going to wind up slaughtered at the ballot box.
It's going to be a tough fight in the primaries.
In the national elections, everything like that, you're going to wind up slaughtered because they are such uninspiring, feckless, spineless candidates. No charisma, nothing.
Yeah.
They really have nothing going for them. And this isn't just, oh my God, he's triggered because Trump lost. No.
We've been saying this for years.
I've said this for years. There is nothing more that I hate sometimes than the Republican Party outside of the Democrat Party. the GOP is such a worthless party. Such a worthless party. There would be nothing that would bring me more joy. Because at this point, clear house. I don't care. Clear the house. Not just not the House of Representatives, but clear house of the establishment GOP. Burn the thing to the ground. Build something new.
If anything,
We have to have the Tea Party type revolution in the Republican Party that we had in 2010.
and if anything, you've seen
have to.
you've seen that Tea Party rally, and you've seen the people that actually stood up for Trump, mostly from the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
The few, what was it, like 120, 125 maybe?
Yeah, I mean, and I had seen like numbers back off to where people start backing out, and it was only like 75 to 100, something like that. But we have to have that response. Either we form a third party, which I don't really think that is the route to go, because ultimately I think it just, in the end, splits the vote. The left is not going to come over, and it's really not going to pull many moderates. It's just going to look like a fractured side that doesn't have itself together, like the left would. And a lesser known new party is not going to attract many moderates because it's too uncertain. People like a binary choice. That's why we're locked into the two-party system that we are anyway. People like binaries. It's either this or this, yes or no, black or white. People don't like whenever there are more choices and there's more gray matter in the middle. People like this or this, and that's why we're in the situation that we are. So we are going to have to make, this is my proposition, we have to make our choice in that binary much better. And the only way to do that is just raising the whole thing, completely clearing house and starting over. We have to. And that means primarying these Republicans, these establishment Republicans, out of their seats in such a mass number that it puts everyone else in line. Because, you know, if they don't get primaried this time, their term isn't up yet, you're next.
And you know,
Next time, you're next.
that's
We have to clear house.
that's something that Donald Trump could do, and he's already hinted at that he wants to do. That he wants to go all around the country in 2022 and just be a full-time campaigner.
Here's what I said the other night on Twitter. Donald Trump, the thing about the MAGA message and the American First message is it obviously resonates with so many people across the typical GOP establishment lines. It resonated with so many people. The biggest issue was in terms of moderates, in terms of any of the moderates or the independents that you're trying to pull from, is Trump's personality, Trump himself. However, it's also a double-sided coin, because some of those same people who never would have come across to Trump were drawn by his personality and who he was, because he was nothing like what was there before. And he didn't care about going out in a blaze of glory. You know? So it really is a double-edged sword. I don't know what happens with Trump going forward. He cannot be the nominee in 2024, though.
Yeah.
We just can't. We can't let that happen. I know that people want that. We can't let that happen. We have to have a fresh face. We have to have somebody new. We have to have somebody charismatic. I mean, just the whole list. But we need to get back to principle. We need to raise the Republican Party. It is fundamentally broken. All right? They support the bailouts. They support the stimulus. They support Obamacare. I mean, really, they do. They support open borders. You know, they stand up there, they grandstand, they say all these things, but they really deep down believe in all that. Republicans in Congress, the GOP establishment, is just progressive light. You know?
And really, the surprise of the year for me last year was Josh Hawley. How surprisingly he has been, because we're from the great state of Missouri.
Yeah.
When he was running, I wasn't very excited by him, but he might be the face that you push here in the future.
Yeah, I mean, potentially. He very well could be. He's come up as a firebrand. And if there's one thing that is certain, it's that the American people are stupid and their memories are short. Because if they weren't, given the economic growth that America had experienced prior to this year, the riots that occurred, there is no way the Democrats had a prayer of getting into office.
Yeah.
But they did. So that obviously shows that the American people are stupid and they have short memories.
Mm-hmm.
So by then they'll have totally forgotten who Josh Hawley is and the whole election certification thing. They'll be like, that's old news. That was 4 years ago. Who cares?
Yeah.
Nobody will care by then. So that's perhaps a viable option, but you have to raise the Republican Party. You have to have that same indignant anger that you had in 2010 now. Has to come out now. Otherwise, you're not going to survive. Your party will not survive. You will never win another election in the state that it's in. Allowing the likes of people like Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell to run the party, it's dead. It's dead. It's a dead party. So resurrect it with something else. Resurrect it with another spirit.
Yeah, because the establishment couldn't care less.
No.
They couldn't care less about winning another election unless it's their own.
Yeah, exactly. But we want to thank you for joining us on this episode of the WireTap. Make sure to visit our socials down below. And for Logan, I'm JD saying goodbye, God bless, and we will see you in the next episode. Oh man, I wish I had a nice studio.